Hey guys, welcome back to the Hat House. I feel like I haven't seen y'all in a while. Appreciate you tuning back in. And today's sales video is loaded. We had a great week of sales that we're going to share with you. We had a bunch of great sports hats that are going out, some really good sales prices on those. We even had some good winter hats that are going out. Those Carhartt winter hats are doing really well right now. If you can find those, make sure you get those up. You'll see that in the video. And then also just dad hats. I even sold some dad hats for a decent sales price, and you'll want to make sure you check those out. Also in this video, we're going to talk about cross-listing. We use vendoo to cross-list all of our items. We kind of like how it works. Mary talks a little bit about that in the video. And how much extra sales did we get this weekend by just spending a couple of hours cross-listing some items? We're going to figure that out in this video as well to see how much of a sales boost we got. And as always, make sure you check out our live videos. We're going to go live on Wednesday at 7 o'clock this week. Make sure you join us there so that you can get your free hat. You got to be there to win. We're really growing the community. It's really fun. We go through a bunch of vintage hats. We take a look at all the hats that are coming into the hat house here, and we go through them. We look and talk about how much do we think they're going to sell for, how good of a hat is it, and then we give away a hat. And one of the hats that come in, we're going to give that away to our viewers. And it's just to thank you for hanging out with us and appreciate you guys watching. So without any further ado, let's get to the garage and see what's sold. All right, guys, let's see what we got going out today. We've got quite a few hats going out, but it's not all just because of eBay, because we did a lot of extra work this weekend, and Mary helped out quite a bit. What did we get done this weekend, Mary?
We cross-listed on vendoo. The boys helped us a little bit. We ended up cross-listing over 100 items. Vendoo makes it very easy. It's just a few clicks and you can get your item listed on many platforms. So it's easy to do and doesn't take much time to do it. The one problem that we do have with vendoo is it doesn't catch every single item sold. I would say it catches 90% of the items that do sell, but we do double check just to make sure that it is delisted off of all of the platforms, so you don't get into a situation where you sell something on eBay and it's not there. So
yeah, that is the negative. We have to go through and constantly double check to make sure that items aren't double sold. And then, of course, I think everybody knows if you sell something on both of them, it's best just to go ahead and complete your eBay order and cancel on the other ones. But let's see what we got going out today. And then we'll get to the hats that we cross-listed and sold, because I'm really interested to see what the total is on cross-listed sales, because I think it was really worth our time. How long do you think we spent doing it?
probably just a couple of hours.
Yeah, maybe 2 hours. And like you said, our boys helped us. They're 15 and 18, and so they help us out around the house a little bit with the business. Every now and then they'll do a little computer work for us, which is we really appreciate when they have free time on the weekends. So let's see what's going out today. All right, first up was this Pittsburgh Pirates dad hat. It went out for $13. Always glad to get more than $10 for a regular dad hat. This was a New Era. Had the Pirates on the back too. It was pretty cool. Next up was a really nice golf hat. Went out for like 18 bucks. It was a US Open 2008 Torrey Pines. Perfect condition. Looked like it was brand new. Still crispy by New Era. Great sale right here. Had a cool logo. Next up was one of several trucker hats we got going out today. This one went out for 20 bucks. Exxon Mobil vintage. The foam was still pretty good in it. Had the paper Made in USA tag, so this was probably mid 80s, early 80s. Nice trucker hat, still in good shape. 20 bucks. Next up was this vintage paisley all over print. It went out for $16. I thought it would go for closer to 20 and a little faster, but this one took about 3 or 4 months to sell. I think it's because it did say made in China, but it was on this older paper tag, so it definitely was vintage. Really nice paisley hat too. Next up was this vintage Polartec fleece hat, winter hat, with the Made in USA tag on it, and the Polartec tag on it, and the ear flaps. This one went out for around $20. Really nice winter hat. Next up was a regular Nike Featherlight running hat. Went out for $10. Next up was a Life is Good. Just a regular strap back with the flowers on it. Went out for $17 for a flower Life is Good hat. That is winning right there. 17 bucks. And a Buc-ee's hat went out for $15. The Buc-ee's gear always sells really fast. I mean, you're not going to make a killing on them. They usually go for 10 to 15 like a normal dad hat, but they sell quite a bit faster than usual. I will always list the Buc-ee's hats if I get them for really cheap. Next up was another good trucker hat, 3-stripe. This was May Trucking, black and yellow, 3-stripe trucker. It was really clean too. Went out for $30. Great 3-stripe hat right here. And the next up was a Jurassic World hat, just a strap back Jurassic World, pretty clean. Went out for like $6. Next up was this Chuck Originals, really cool 5-panel hat, and I will not come down on these 5-panel hats if I just list them and then somebody's sending me like $10. I got 15 for this one, and I usually just won't take a lot less than 15 because they are just really in demand. They sell really quick. Next up was a really good sports hat, New York Giants. Even though they're not doing the hottest, still sold for $30. New Era wool, vintage, snapback. Had the Giants head on the back and was pretty clean on the inside. The white was still in great condition. There's the vintage New Era tag if you want to check it out. $30, great sale. Next up was a combined order. Went out for like $22. We had just a regular Irish dad hat and then 2 flat caps. One was by UBI and the other one was T. Harris. Took a bundle deal on that, $22. Next up was a Marlboro Racing Team, and these really do sell well. This one was vintage. I took $10 for this one just because it had a crease in the bill right here. Normally this is a 30, 40, sometimes more. Mine was in great condition besides the crease. But I'll take the $10 just to get a broken hat moving. And I will say, that is why you have to make sure and check the comps. Because you may see that I sold a Marlboro hat for $10 and not looked at the whole listing, seen that there was a problem with it and think, oh, the Marlboro hats only sell for $10. And that gets a lot of people confused sometimes. That's why you got to know what you're listing and make sure you're double checking. If you see something out of the ordinary, see why maybe it did, because you don't want to go off that I sold that for $10 when you actually have a $40 hat. Next up was another good sports hat. Went out for $30. This was a Sports Specialties vintage fitted. It was size 7 1/4 on the Korea, made in Korea tag. Really nice wool. Detroit Tigers. 30 bucks is a pretty good deal for both of us. I might have could have waited a little longer, but for 40 or 50, but it had some problems with the stitching right here as well. And it was yellowing on the inside, so $30, good deal. Next up, another sports hat. Chicago White Sox had the World Series 05 side patch. Pretty clean on the inside. This one was definitely newer, size 7 1/4. Went out for 20 bucks. Then one of a couple of Carhartts going out. This was a vintage Carhartt. It was still in really good shape. Had the Made in USA snap on it. The canvas, $20. Great deal. Then we had an Undefeated 5 Strikes hat. Went out for $16. It was still in pretty good shape. Pretty clean, black with the 5 Strike logo on it. Next up was this really cool dad hat. Pen Air, the Spirit of Alaska. 50 years of service on the back. Went out for like $16. This is a really good hat. Really good dad hat. Then we had a Seattle Mariners fitted. Went out for $18. Really good shape still. Definitely newer with the gray sweatband. Size 7 1/4. Great condition. They got a good deal for $18. And then we had a New York Yankees fitted. This one went out for $10. It was in a little rougher shape. Not very desirable design. But it was size 7 1/4 as well. $10. Then we had a Carhartt that went out for $28. This was a little nicer, had the ear flaps on it, and it was in good shape. And this one is going international, so they paid up for this one to get for the international shipping, and then $28 with the shipping on top. Next up, we had a Patagonia Fitzroy Bear with the bear on it. Regular snapback in gray, went out for $15. We had a Sawyer Brown hat that I had for a while. It went out for $10. It's a regular Sawyer Brown, pretty clean. Next up, we had a Boston Red Sox dad hat. Went out for $12. Did have the clover on the back. Just regular 47 casual dad hat. Next up, we had another trucker. This one went for $13. Had it for a little bit. It was a little rougher on the inside. Was pretty cleaned out on the foam. Had a nice big patch on it. $13 for the GM Delco. Next up was a Disney hat. This one went for $14. So really pleased with that. It said true vintage characters on it. Just a regular Disney's Parks hat. Next up was this Dodgers hat. Went out for like $16. I think the Dodgers stuff is going to start going for a little more because they signed what's his name that they just signed for $700 million.
Otani to a 10-year $700 million.
10-year $700 million. He's going to be great for the league and great for merchandise. So if you got your Dodgers stuff, I think it'll start selling pretty well, and especially when baseball season gets here, we'll definitely see a spike in Dodgers. Next up was a vintage USA Olympics. Had a crease in the bill, pretty rough shape starter hat. These can go for a lot more, of course, if they're in really great condition, but took $13 on this one, and be a good hat for somebody. Really nice side patch, and just needed a little more work. Next up was Mississippi State snapback hat. I want to thank my Mississippi State fans and football team for taking Jeff Levy off of our hands. You'll really enjoy him. The jet sweeps will be awesome. If you know, you know. So if you have any comments about my boy Jeff Levy, make sure you leave them down below. Love him or hate him, we're glad he's gone. Next up was a nice Oregon State Beavers that went out for $15. Camo, 47 brand, regular dad hat. Camo always sells for a little bit more. This was a really, really cool hat right here. Next up was a vintage Barks root beer. It went out for $15. International sell as well. Really cool patch on it. And it was in pretty good shape. It's been cleaned out. Nice little trucker hat right here. Next up was a vintage Bears truck stop. Not even sure where Bears is. If you know where Bears truck stop is, let me know. But this one went out for like $10. Next up was a vintage Pendleton hat. This one went out for $23. Still in really good shape. Besides some of the moth, kind of had some moth damage on the bill, which is typical with most Pendleton wool. The moths just love Pendleton as much as we do. But it still was in really good shape. Went out for $23. Next up was Aruba Island. Went out for $13. Just a regular dad hat. Happy Aruba Island. Next up was a Mickey Nike hat. Solid $15. About any condition. This hat will go for $10 to $15. Really good condition, you get close to $20, but these sell all the time and really quick. Mickey Nike lightweight hats. Next up was a regular Nike dad hat. Went out for $13. Pretty clean, good condition. Next up was a North Face. It went out for $20. International as well. Really good sale right here. Orange and white. Always want to mark the good colors up. The gray and the black and the gray and the black, they don't sell very well, but the good colors like this orange one, $20, great price. Here's a brand I tell y'all to look out for. This one only went for $20 because I think it was personalized and it had this little bit of damage, but Ebbetsfield flannel. This was a 5-panel hat. Always want to pick up the Ebbetsfield flannel hats. This was strap back, 5-panel green, $20, good price, even though it had a little damage on it. And another nice $20 sale. This was a outdoor research, kind of a panel hat, but it was lined, and I thought it was Gore-Tex. Yeah, it was Gore-Tex, and it was lined and adjustable. Nice $20 sale there. And next up was a Notre Dame Fighting Irish. This was a kind of a franchise fitted, but this was by Top of the World fitted, size medium, had the nice clover on it, went out for $15. All right, next up was a Harry Potter Ravenclaw, went out for $12. Great shape, good hat. Next up was a Nike golf hat, went out for $12. Probably would have asked more, but it kind of had this staining on the bill. But it was in like excellent condition. I think it was from the sticker, but when we tried to get it off, it just left the mark and we couldn't get it off. So $12 for a Nike golf hat, they got a good deal. Then Ted the Movie Bear hat went out for 16 bucks. I'm really surprised. I think it's because I had international shipping on. There were a bunch of these hats out there. Mine going for 16. I will take it. All right, let's go to all of our cross-listing sales that we did. Like Mary said, we did about 100 over the weekend, and we had several cross-listing sales. It's easier for her to look them up over there and to see how much they sold for, so I don't have to look them up on my phone, so I appreciate that. She's going to let us know what each of these sold for, and we'll see how much we made just by cross-listing for a couple hours this weekend. First up was this Subaru hat. It was in really good shape. How much did this one sell for?
It sold for $20.
$20. Great sales price. I did pay $6 for this hat. If you'll remember, this one came from our Whatnot video on how to source hats. So if you haven't seen that video, make sure you check it out. It's a great way to source hats. Sold this one for $20, and it's only been about a week. What platform did it sell on?
That one sold on Depop.
Depop. All right. Next up was this National Park Service hat. It was a vintage National Park Service. It had an arrowhead embroidery on it. How much did it go for?
$18.
$18. Really good sales price. What site? Was it Macari?
Yeah.
Went out on Macari. Next up was this Travis Matthew hat. Really good shape. Did have this NBA restart on the bottom here. I don't think that was intentional or supposed to be on there, but it did still have this inside tag. Nice snapback. How much did it go for?
It went for $15.
$15.
On Macari.
On Macari. Next up was this vintage Chicago Bulls Champions logo athletic. Really cool hat right here. I think it went on Macari for how much?
It was $35.
$35. Great price right here. I think I priced it around $45 or $50. Somebody offered me $35. 2 minutes after I listed it, I will take it. Next up was this combined order. Had a U.S. Open hat and a Tommy Hilfiger hat. Went out on Depop, I'm pretty sure. How much did those go for?
Together they went for $35.
$35. Great deal. 2 dad hats. Combined order. You can't beat $35 sales on a couple of dad hats. Next up was this NFX hat. And it went, I think it went on Macari, but I didn't price this one up very much. I think it was like a reprint. Somebody just printed this on here, so I didn't price it up like it was vintage or anything. How much did it go for, Mary?
I went for $15.
$15 NFX set. Next up was this super cool Los Angeles Kings diamond cut, D-cut. It was by Mitchell & Ness, but I still priced it up a little bit. How much do we sell it for?
It went for $21.
$21. It had a little staining right here, but it was the Kings on the D-cut remake. Pretty good sale. Next up, we had a St. Louis Blues dad hat. How much was it, and where did we sell it?
It sold on Macari for $15.
$15 on Macari. All right, and our last one that we cross-listed and sold this weekend was this Fitzroy Fish Patagonia hat. How much did it go for?
It sold for $15 on Poshmark.
$15 on Poshmark. What a good deal. All right, Mary, tell us what our total was.
Our total for cross-listing came to $189.
$189, and we didn't pay the shipping on any of that, of course. We just print out the labels on Macari and Poshmark. But of course you got to subtract fees and our cost of goods. But $189 in sales for a couple hours of work this weekend, I think it's a pretty good deal. The thing about most of those sites is you will get an initial boost, and you'll get the items get pushed up for the first 24 or 48 hours, but you really don't pay to have any more promoted listings like eBay. So it kind of gets lost in search and gets pushed down to the bottom as time goes on. So, but it's really good for a nice boost when you initially list them, and you'll get a good sales boost. If things are kind of slow over on eBay, we'll kind of do that, and we'll be able to push some sales that way. So 189 extra dollars, pretty good for a couple hours work. All right, got some great ones going out in this bunch. This first up was this Air Jordan. It had this spell out of 11 on the front of it. Pretty clean. Went for $30. There was one other one on eBay. He had his price like 70 or 80 bucks. It is rare. I couldn't really find another one, but I thought like if I put $70 on this hat, I would probably get a bunch of $30 and $40 offers, maybe 40, but I thought I'd get a bunch of $30 offers and that it would probably just sit for a while and it might sit forever at $80. So I just went ahead and went with the $40, took the $30 offer, and it sold in about 24 hours, but I might be wrong. This may be worth $80 and would have sold fast, but his was sitting there, looked like for a while. Next up was this Yamaha Racing. It went out for $15. It sold really quick too. It was clean on the inside, but it was just, you could tell it had quite a bit of wear. It's been worn a lot. At least it wasn't dirty, but $15, they got a pretty good deal on this one. If it had been in better shape, I would have asked more. All right, next up was this Stormy Chromer that we unboxed the other night in our unboxing video. Went out for $38. The really important on this one is, and you want to make sure to put it in your listing, if it's like this really stiff, it's called waxed. This is waxed cotton. It's really stiff. It kind of stays however you put it, but it's a really good keyword that you want to make sure and use in your listings. This was a really great size too, 7.5, waxed cotton, $38 for this Stormy Chromer. I usually get between like 20 and 30 for the wool ones. This waxed cotton one definitely sold for a lot more, and like in an hour. Pink Panther NFL hat forever, went out for $12. I think the fellow worked at Owens Corning. I probably had this hat for about a year and a half. It was pretty beat up. $12. I'm happy to see it go. Next up was this Oakland A's. It went out for $10. Usually this is between a $20 and $30 type of hat, but this one was missing the button on top, and so I had it for quite a while. I took the $10. Oakland A's 80s trucker. Next up was this Titleist hat. Went out for $9. Just a regular strap back lightweight Titleist. Next up was a Beater Banger. So this hat is a really cool hat. You can see it had the moth holes all over it, but it was sports specialties, snapback. Even the button was messed up on top. Still went out for $19. Still got about $20 for this hat. Of course, if this was in perfect condition, a really nice hat, it would have been probably close to a $100 hat. But I'll take the 20. Somebody just wants one to wear to work or whatever. It's still a cool hat. Next up, this hat ended up going out for $25. It's 10 deep, like a streetwear brand. Had these like brass knuckle looking things on it, and had this cool side 10 deep on here. I looked it up on the website. These they were selling them for $35, so I priced mine at $35. I think they were out of the blue ones. So somebody offered me $25 for it, and I took it. It's a good brand to look out for, 10 deep. Next up was this Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Had a cool script on the front. Went out for $15. It was by 47. So sometimes those hats don't get as much, but it had a really cool script on it and a cool side hit too. Next up was this Tomahawk 4H Beef. Went out for $23. This one was on our How to Source Hats video we did like about a month or two ago. So we bought a lot of trucker hats with the big patches on them. Really cool hats. We ended up spending like $3 a piece on those hats, and then reselling them on eBay one at a time. This one will be about $20 profit since it went out for 23 bucks. Next up was a Dutch Bros hat. It went out for 15 bucks. Had pretty cool colorway on it and a nice patch on it. The Dutch Bros stuff is kind of just hit and miss between 5 or 15. Next up was this Pittsburgh's Pirates. I couldn't believe it went for $12, really. I've had it forever, though. I thought this script on the front would do really well, and it was a fitted, New Era fitted, 7 5/8, great size. But sometimes they just get a good deal and they slip through. and go on sale, and they get a great hat for $12. Next up was this John Deere. Had a nice big patch on it. Vintage. It went out for 30 bucks. It was actually on the Swingster snap as well. The Swingster tag. The K-Product ones go for around the same, $30 to $40. And you always want to look for the ones that have the towns on them. They can go for even more. But $30 for a good vintage John Deere hat, I'll take it. And rack this up to things that really surprised me. $20 for a Quiznos hat. You don't see many Quiznos around anymore. I think we had a discussion whether it's in or out of business anymore. But definitely probably harder to find a Quiznos hat. Went for 20 bucks. I will take it for a Quiznos hat. Next up was a combined order. They got a couple of good hats right here. This Thrasher skater hat. Both of these went out for around $32, so somewhere around $16, $15 a piece. And then a Goodyear rope hat. It's been cleaned out. Had the foam cleaned out of it. Still really good condition on the Goodyear hat, and the Thrasher hat was cool too. Next up was another Pittsburgh Pirates. Went out for 20 bucks. Really cool gray color. It was size 7 5/8. Fitted, new era, $20. Had a cool logo on it. Next up, you want to be on the lookout for these Nike golf hats. They usually sell pretty well. They retain their value pretty good. This one had a really cool color, but kind of this teal, greenish blue. Had the Nike and then the golf spell out on it. $23 is a great price for this one, but it was pretty clean. It was basically like new. Great hat right here. Next up was this Buffalo Bills, $39.30, Flex Fit, new era. It was white, went out for $15. Really clean, great condition. And then we had a Patagonia in gray, went out for $20. Sometimes you'll get 20, a lot of times you'll get 15 or 10. Really glad to get the 20 on this one. Just a regular Patagonia, 20 bucks. And then last up today was a Poshmark sale. This Washington Huskies visor went out for $14. Really nice Nike visor. Washington's doing really well. College football is too, so great sale right here. All right, guys, we got some really great hats going out in this bunch. We started off with a Disney hat. It went out for like $14. Had a really cool strap back on it, and this was, a lot of Disney hats don't go for a whole lot. This one went a little bit better just because it had a really nice embroidery on it, and it said 2005 Traditions Team. So it was a pretty good sale. All right, next up was this blank. It was a blank Youngin. It was on the Youngin. We talked about these on our live unboxing last night. We went in a little more detail. But Youngin is one that you want to keep a lookout for. Had a nice rope on it. It was gray. It was clean. It was basically dead stock. But Youngin blank hats do pretty well. 15-ish dollars with shipping. Next up was a vintage Martin 90s sitcom Martin Lawrence hat. Went out for like $17. A really good sell right here. These usually sell pretty well. Next up was this vintage lightning hat. It just said lightning on it, embroidered. I don't know that I ever actually tracked down who it was. It said I am my corn on the back as well. Just a vintage trucker hat, nice embroidery. Went out for $10. Next up was a Quantum fishing brand. They make reels and rods. It was pretty nice. Went out for $10. Super clean. Had the Big Bass Tour logo on the side. Really nice fishing hat. Next up was a vintage trucker. This said International MAT LTD on it. Just in really good shape. Pretty much dead stock. Had this one for a long time though. Finally went out for $10. It's in beautiful shape. Nice big circle patch on it, but just wasn't a very desirable patch, so it took a while. Next up, another vintage trucker. This one out for like $7. Herbert Vault. It was clean too, great condition. Just goes to show you're really looking for the well-known companies on the patches that will get a lot better sell price. This was a beautiful trucker hat, but still just went for $7. First on our great sports hat sale, we got several sports hats that are going out. This one went out for like $40. Miami Dolphins white, pretty clean. And this was on the KMG Pro Model Game Time Twill hat for $40. Just don't find the white one out there very often, so I priced it up a little bit around the $40 to $50 mark. and it's sold for $40. Next up, Napoleon Dynamite, Vote for Pedro. This one still had the tags on it, so it went out for like $23. Really nice. When was this one made? Like
2004.
All right, so the movie came out in 2004. This hat's from 2005. I thought it was a little older, but still really cool hat with the tags on it. Kind of hard to find. Great sale, $22. Next up was this Titleist hat. It went out for $14, and this is kind of more of the performance material. It's not really the cotton. This one's more polyester and had the nice leather strap on it, so I asked a little bit more for it. And it went out for like $14, $15. Really good deal. And I just asked more for these types of Titleist hats. Next up was a Florida State Seminoles hat. Seminoles are doing well since they got screwed over royally in college football. So their stuff has been selling. Everybody wants to show how much they love their Seminoles. This one sold for $14. Really crispy, like new condition. Had the big fat embroidery on it. They got a really good hat for $14. Next up was this Cobra golf hat. Went out for $10. A little different. It was just flex fitted. Had no real structure to it. Nice Cobra golf hat. Next up was this really nice Orvis wool with the fly on it. So it was like a fishing hat. This went out for $16. Sold really quick. Probably in about a day. Nice Orvis. It wasn't vintage, but having the fly on it, being wool, it was a little more desirable. Next up was an Indy 500, went out for $15. Always pleased when the racing hats do well and go out for more than $10. This one had 89th annual Indy 500 hat. Just a regular strap back. $15, great deal. Next up, Montana Grizzlies, kind of hard to come by sometimes. $13. It was a franchise fitted, it was large, pretty good size. Had it for quite a while. Glad this one finally sold. $13, good sales price. Next up was the Oakland Raiders. Went out for like $20. It was Mitchell & Ness. It was on the vintage tag, so kind of the retro Mitchell & Ness remake, but it had the big ARC spell out on the Raiders. Raiders always does awesome. $20. Next up was a Nike visor. This one actually went for like $14, which is a really good sales price on visors. Usually they're in the $10 mark, but this one had a little bit different strap on it. The tags were really in good condition. You could tell that it was pretty crispy and hadn't been worn, if at all. Next up, another great sports hat to look out for. This is Mighty Ducks. Went out for $47. You could tell that it was vintage. Even though it didn't have anything on the snap. Oh yeah, it did. On the back snap it had made in USA. So definitely a vintage hat. But didn't have any tags in it. And still was able to get $47 for Mighty Ducks hat. Great price. The vintage ones do really well. Always desirable. Really great trucker hat right here. Went out for $44. This is a Caterpillar tractor and equipment of Great Falls. And sometimes the towns and the cities, people are looking for specific ones. And this one did really well. It was also gray, this gray kind of heather jersey material, which made it even better. So great hat right here. Huge patch on it. $44. Great selling price on this one. Next up was the Los Angeles Dodgers Sports Specialties. Went out for like $70. It had, it was a little discoloration here on the bill. I don't know how well you can see it. I disclosed that in the listing, and a little discoloration on the sweatband, and it was a little bit newer. It was the newer version as well. Still went for $70. Dodgers, Yankees always do awesome, especially if you can find them in the script. And this was a newer one. Still went for $70. Great sale right here, and always to keep the lookout for this style. Next up, this sale is brought to you by Vendoo, but no, just kind of kidding. The link is down below if you want to sign up for it. But we did probably 160 cross listings yesterday, and this was one of them, sold the same day. This hat went out for $50. This is Dare hat, corduroy Dare with the nice rope on it. This Dare stuff is doing really well right now. It's pretty hot on the whatnot. But this is That Hat by Youngin. So it's really good, good brand and great embroidery. The Dare hat, $50, great price. Next up was this Oilers hat. It went out for $23 on Mercari. It was fitted, vintage, Houston Oilers, $23. Pretty good sales price. It was kind of yellowing. I don't know if it was made that way. I think it was supposed to be a little off-white, but it does still have a little bit of yellowing on it. But nice sale on Mercari. Brought to you by Vendoo. And last on Depop, we sold this Gorin Brothers. How much was it, Mary?
$22.
$22 for a Gorin Brothers flat cap. It was a good size. It was, I think it's size large. Yeah, size large. Gorin Brothers flat cap. Gorin Brothers does really well. I usually sell them on Depop. I'll list them there. Some people have had problems with Veros on Gorin Brothers on eBay. I never have, but I just started listing them more on Depop and Mercari just so I didn't have to mess with it. And they sell really well there anyways, and usually for a better price. eBay, they would probably pay like $15 or try to get it for $10. And these hats and good stylish hats just sell for a little bit more on Depop. Great hat right here. And don't forget our free hat that's going out, because Mike joined the live and was there when we opened our box of hats, and then we gave away this free Hawaiian color all over print, like Miller Lite beer with the puff print on it. Really cool vintage hat. We even steamed it up for him. Had really good shape. Turned out really nice. Appreciate you for tuning in, Mike, and everybody else. Make sure you join our live so you can be there. We give away free vintage hats. We find something cool out of the box, and we always give one away. So see you guys there. Make sure you sign up for the next one.